All right, I am here today and I'm going to do the impossible, something that seemingly is not possible, which is to open the new One Piece starter deck 29. Surprisingly, for some reason, I don't know why, this starter deck is going for $25 at my local game store. It's going for nothing at Walmart because it was sold out. Online, it's sold out. So far, this release week has been pretty bad. If you're not familiar, One Piece in general has a pretty tough release when it comes to North America. Other countries is different. It's probably just as bad, if not worse. But, you know, it has not been a great release. Wednesday was the Walmart Wednesday drop for the illustration box and OP14. What ends up happening is that Bandai printed only 4,000 units to give to Walmart. Yes, Walmart, a big company, 4,000 units, which is nothing. Basically, a select number of Americans every state could buy an OP14 double set, basically. And then from there, let's save this bonus pack for the end. This is not a regular blister. This is basically something that potentially could have the alt leader. It could have the Nami, which is very provocative, or some other card. So let's save this for the end. But that was Wednesday, right? That was the first kind of release of the week, right? Then today, Friday, January 16th, 3 a.m. Target drops. What ends up happening is that not only does Target as well as Walmart end up getting botted to hell because everybody is now scalping One Piece, but again, Target does not have that much inventory. It similar to Walmart, does not have enough because Bandai has not printed enough. And then I go as a last-ditch effort to my local game store, and I say, you know what? They usually have things that are in stock. They usually charge MSRP. Come to find out, they only had one case of this starter deck, only one, and they were charging $25, which is $7 over MSRP, which is not crazy. But then come to find out, for the illustration boxes, they were charging almost double. They were charging about $42 per box, whereas on Target, it's about $25, and at Walmart, it's $27. So, yippee-doo-dah, it looks like this release is probably one of the worst releases for Bandai because the hype is very real, the attention is very real, and their inventory is lackluster. But right now, let's focus on the Egghead starter deck. This is actually a pretty unique starter deck because, similar to Mr. Nougat, he has 6 lives. It says, if you have 2 or less life cards, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand. So, basically, when you get to 2 lives, you then start cycling, and your leader skill basically kicks in, where you're able to pull something and trash something, and if you don't like what you pull, just get rid of it. Very nice card art. I like this card art a lot, actually. I actually will keep this card. I may give this to a friend because they're looking to use this deck. Okay, I could have sworn I have the Sanji already. Maybe this is a remake. Look at 4 cards on the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Straw Hat type card and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So he is a searcher. He's 4 for 5 with a 1k counter. Pretty good. Whoa, whoa. Rush character. This card can attack characters on the turn in which it's played, so he can rush characters, not leader. So if you play him and there's technically no one on the field, he cannot attack the turn he's played. Activate main once per turn. You may trash 1 card with a trigger from your hand. Draw 1 card and give up to 1 Restodon card to your leader or one of your characters. Huh. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. That's a very unique leader. That's a very unique ability. Beautiful card art, by the way. Very beautiful card art. Okay. You got 2 of those. And again, the thing with starter decks is you always want to buy 2 because they only give you 2 SRs and they only give you 2 searchers usually. And you almost always want to have 4 searchers and then maybe 2 or 3 SRs. So like, yeah, it's not looking good, bro. Like, basically, to get a playset to play this deck, you need to spend $50 at the local game store, which is nuts. Usopp. On play when attacking, rest up to one of your opponent's characters a cost equal to less than the number of your opponent's life cards. That is okay, but it's actually not as good as you think because he does not have Rush. Oh, he has an on play. Okay, never mind. That's actually really good. I was going to say, because he doesn't have Rush, you have to wait the next turn, but because it's an on play and when attacking, this is actually viable. Rest up to one of your opponent's character costs equal to less than the number of your opponent's life cards. So if the game just started and you didn't take any lives yet, he could potentially rest someone who's, you know, 5 costs, and at that point they probably don't even have 5 costs. So 3 for 4, that's pretty interesting. I feel like that's actually a very good card. It's not too bad to have, and he is not leader locked, so that's a good sign too. Let's see here, Kaku. If the number of your life cards is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards, this character gains plus 1k power. Interesting. So it's not an activate main, it's just a fact. So I think because it's not an on play, it's just like universal. So if the number of your life cards is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards, he gets 1k. So he's a 4 for 6, which is okay. And then his triggers k up to one of your opponent's characters at cost of 3 or less. Not bad. That's not too bad. Jinbei, 2k counter. If your leader is Monkey D. Luffy, play this card. Okay, that's kind of annoying actually, because I would actually like to run this card, but because he's Monkey D. Luffy locked, then you know it's kind of whatever. You can't really run him. So 2k counter though, so it's something to think about. Stussy, 2k counter, 6 for 7. Vanilla, looking crazy. That is crazy fan service. All right, let's keep going. 2020 Chopper. On KO, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Add up to 1 card from your hand to the top of your life cards. That's very good. This is actually an underrated card in my opinion, because there's a lot of cards like Hayori or the new Grandma that came out in OP14 where the whole gimmick is like on play, take something from your life, put something from your hand to your life, which is okay, but then like you just played a card for 1 or 2 Dawn that is basically going to do nothing and sit there. This guy is 4 for 5. He can attack. If they don't want to attack him to get the on KO, you now have someone who's sitting there. So I think that's good. And then also his trigger, up to one of your Monkey D. Luffy cards gains plus 2k power during this turn. So your leader or a Monkey D. Luffy card could get 2k for the turn as a trigger. That's not too bad. That can definitely save you, especially if that's like early turn, you take the life. That's actually pretty good. We have Nami. If your Egghead type character would be KO'd by your opponent's effect, you may turn 1 card from the top of your life cards face up instead. That is a pretty good, that's a pretty damn good protection actually. So this protects you against, doesn't protect you against Red Rock, but it does protect you against removal. So if you have someone who's playing like a removal Marco deck, it can protect you and save you. Also, if I'm not mistaken, you can do this 5 times. Technically, because it says, if your Egghead type character would be KO'd by your opponent's effect, you may turn 1 card from the top of your life card face up instead. It doesn't say once per turn, it doesn't say activate main, so that's a very good protection card, actually. 2k counter Frankie, 5 for 6, not bad. What else are we looking for here? We've got a 2k block, or 2 cost blocker. Brook, okay, that's not bad. 2 cost blocker. In my opinion, I think the 1 cost Vegapunk is better, but he does technically require that you give 2 Dawn to somebody, but I still think he's better. Monkey D. Luffy, looking like an old man. Once per turn, give up to 1 rested Dawn card to one of your Monkey D. Luffy cards. I like that, but in my opinion, because it's restrictive and it's not character, I feel like this should have been the 2k counter, which would have been OP, I get that, but so far we've seen, what, 3 sets of 2k counters? Okay, here's another 2k counter. 4 for 2, 2k counter, okay, this is pretty good. Nico Robin, 4 for 2. If your leader is Monkey D. Luffy, play this card. Alright, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Alright, Rob Lucci. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the total of you and your opponent's life cards. 5 for 6. Not bad, not bad. I don't know how I feel about the you and your opponent's life cards. I guess the thing is, technically, because you're a 6 life leader and you could always run Kuma or someone that gives you life, maybe, potentially, you could kill a 7 cost with that, but I feel like that's pretty unlikely. 1 cost, counter up to one of your leader characters gains plus 2k power during this battle. Then if you have 1 or less life cards, go up to one of your opponent's leader characters minus 2k during this turn. Trigger, draw 1 card. Pretty good counter, not bad. And you do get 4 of them, which is actually nice. Let's see, cost, main. Your Monkey D. Luffy leader gains unblockable during this turn. That is good. That is good. Damn, that's really good. Wow, wow. Now, this, in my opinion, is a better event than the 1 cost ace in OP13, where technically that one is... Alright, I get it. That one is a little bit more universal. That one is that if you're 1 life, rest 1 Dawn for the card, then rest 1 Dawn for the event, so it costs 2. You have to be 1 life or less, and then your leader becomes unblockable. But this, for 1 cost, and it doesn't matter how many lives you have, I feel like you could play this deck in a way where you are constantly prodding with Luffy. You could do maybe 12k hits with Luffy. That's like putting 7 Dawn on him. Then if you play a Vega and another blocker, you then could just basically roach. Like you just play 2 blockers, and then you just pierce with this. I feel like that's pretty good. I mean, there's definitely different ways to approach this, but this is a really good card, and it's a generic +1. Leader gains +3k. Yeah, it's a generic +3k, which is pretty good. All right. Cost 2. Counter. Up to one of your leader character cards gains +4k power during this battle. Then if you have 2 or less life cards, get up to one of your opponent's characters will cost 3 or less. That's not bad. That is not bad. Obviously, there's a difference between a 1-cost event and a 2-cost event, but that is not a bad event. And you do get 4, which is actually pretty nice. And then the Dawn. Okay. So for a starter deck, it's very interesting. It is very interesting. I feel like interesting. So I don't know. I feel like this, usually for yellow decks, you always want to run like Kikunojo. I feel like for this deck, you might not even want to run the Kikunojo, because it sounds like to me, you want to be abundant in life, because look, all these cards don't really care about the cost of your life, really, right? At least Unblockable didn't care. Let's look really quickly. I don't think there's many cards that really care about your life being low. Not really. Well, the counter, 1 or less life. You can replace that, though, where it's 2 or less. This one is good if you have more life. So that's the thing, right? You having more life is better for this trigger. Let's see, what else? What else is here? I don't think the triggers are... There's not many triggers that really matter that you have to be low life. No, a lot of the triggers are just like, if you're Monkey D. Luffy, do this. Yeah. Yeah, so far, the only trigger I'm seeing where you have to be low is that... Okay, you may trash one card, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it looks like... To me, it looks like the only card that matters that your life has to be low is that counter event. This deck looks like, to me, because you have 6 lives, you just want to play Kuma in this deck, you want to play Boa in this deck, you want to actually be high life. So the whole meme with yellow decks is that like, oh, I'm playing YG Yamato, I need to be at 2 life, because if I'm not at 2 life, I can't get certain things to activate. And the same thing with a lot of yellow decks is that you want your opponent's life to be 3 or less, usually. So for Kikunojo, she's only played if your opponent is 3 or less. And all these triggers where it's like, okay, kill someone who is the total count of yourself lives and the opponent's. If your lives are 5 and your opponent's lives are 2, you can still get rid of a 7 cost. That's pretty good. So I feel like this Luffy, you actually like, you don't really have, if you run it a certain way, don't have a penalty of being like 8 life, for example, because all his triggers are like, if your leader's Monkey D. Luffy, play this card. It's not if you're 2 or less life, if you're 1 or less life. Granted, that event is like that, and there are like cards like Kikunojo and other cards where like it's dependent on your lives or your opponent's lives. But yeah, this is an interesting leader. I feel like the way they set it up, in my opinion, is you could play characters that make Luffy stronger, and then just go ahead and play blockers and just keep poking with Luffy. If you're doing 12k hits with Luffy, like unblockable 12k is pretty good. So in my opinion, I would definitely try to play this where you're using the leader to do most of the hits, and then everybody else is just kind of like just sponges, basically. Because look at the deck. There's no real big beaters in the deck. I mean, obviously you could play Bo in this deck. She's expensive, Dawn-wise, 9 cost. But in general, he's a pretty interesting leader. Now let's open up this pack and let's see if we get anything lucky. Now the big thing probably is the Nami dash pack. That is probably the big thing that people are interested in. But, well, we don't know. This could be anything. In my opinion, from all the cards I just saw, I would say the Zoro. If we get the Zoro dash pack, I'll be happy with that. I'll keep him. I'll sleeve him. Anyone else, I'll have mixed feelings. Or Frankie. Frankie's not bad either. But I know everybody online is like, oh, the Nami. Ooh, we got Zoro? Do you get 3 or do you only get 1? Ooh, Zoro. Dash pack. Zoro looking nice. Dash pack Old Man Luffy. And dash pack Kaku. Alright, not too bad. I'm happy about the Zoro. The Zoro looks cool. The Zoro looks amazing, actually. Let's compare it really quickly just to see. Zoro, where are you at, Zoro? Zoro, where are you? Where are you? I'm so sorry. Alright, let's compare it. It's not a huge difference, but it is noticeable. So, for the dash pack, it's a little bit more like full art, kind of, sort of, where, you know, the borders are trimmed a bit. There's not as much as like a silver border, as you can see here. I'm trying to get it without the glare of the light. It's actually pretty glaring. But yeah, dash pack Zoro. He looks cool. We also got the dash pack Old Man Luffy, and we also got the dash pack Old Man Kaku. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the set. It seems like this is obviously a yellow heavy set, which, if you don't know, if you haven't played the game, yellow decks are notoriously expensive. I think it's because in the beginning of this game cycle, everybody was playing Red Law, Red Zoro, and they didn't care about yellow. Like Starter Deck 3, not Starter Deck 3, Box 3 was yellow, and I think people just kind of skipped it. And I don't know, I guess, like, yellow in general, people just don't like it as much as red and blue because, like, the yellow cards are always expensive. Kuma's like $30. This new Boa Hancock is like 30, 40 bucks. And obviously for this Luffy, if you want to, you know, run those SRs or different things, it's going to be more expensive too. But yeah, this is a very yellow-dependent deck. It'll probably be a little bit more expensive to run optimal decks, but in general, even with all the scalpers, even with all the distribution issues, the way you can play this game, I mean, it's still pretty affordable. Obviously, the top tier decks, you're probably going to spend, you know, anywhere from $50 to $200 maybe, but that's a you thing. That's a, like, if you want to be Mr. Meta, which I don't. I just want to have fun. And here's kudos. You know, there is a chance that there will be more drops at Target, though there's a chance there'll be more drops at Walmart. Again, if you're interested, this was mentioned in a past video, there is the PokeRestock app, which you can use for getting in-stock alerts for One Piece. I actually did try. I almost got an illustration box, but it was out of stock by the time. Like basically the way Target works is that you keep trying to buy it, and eventually it will honor you and let you get it, or you just get kicked out and try next time. So that's what I'll probably be doing for the next couple days. I'll keep trying over and over to buy it for MSRP. And so far we got the Egghead deck, and I did get a box of OP14. So I'm not crying poor. I do feel bad for people who are paying $300 for the box and, you know, 50 plus for the illustration box. Kind of sucks because these are some of the better products and it's being gatekept by bad inventory and scalpers. So good luck to anyone out there that are trying to, you know, get into the hobby for the first time. It's a good game. It's a fun game. It's just tough times right now. I mean, it's not exactly the best, but hey, if you follow us on Twitter, if you follow us on social media, and if you download the app, you have at least a chance of getting something for MSRP. It's not easy, it's not guaranteed, but it's at least a chance. So good luck, and hopefully you will get lucky.